What's up, guys and girls? My name is Nick, and we are here for a week 5 match for season 3 of the CCC, where we are seeing the Lilycove Lugias going up against the Azalea Town Slowpokes. Now, both of these players, I believe, have currently only got one win under their belts apiece. With us starting to approach the latter end of the league play, they really need to start picking up wins for them to be able to make playoffs. So this is a crucial game for both players here. You can see two Tapus going head to head. Obviously, Feeney, which is notoriously bulky, versus the Coco, which is obviously quick, powerful, very, very scary, both sides of these players. And then both their S tiers also dragon type mons. Salamence, obviously, that's done so well in previous competitions. Dracovish, we know the moment it can get a move off, it's basically taking everything down one shot with that vicious rend. But then the whole teams as a unit are brilliant. You've got, looking down the lower ends of the leagues, you've got the Magmar with the Eviolite that just doesn't go down, the Drapion and the Tauros from the Lugias side of things, which have got a lot of power between them. So, right from top to bottom, great teams. Let's jump into it and see how we get on. Right, here we go then. So we can see that Joel is bringing the Magmar, Alolan Executor, Dracovish, Crobat, Tapu Koko, and the Hitmonlee. Great Pokemon. I think we've seen similar sort of brings for at least the majority of this, like the bottom four. I'm not sure as we've seen too much work out of that Dragofish yet this season, though. Um, I know that the Tapu Koko and certainly the Magmar, though, we've seen some good stuff from that. Uh, then, if we look at Kraken, he's going for the Seismitoad, Gothitelle, the Conkeldurr, Tauros, Tapu Fini, and Drapion. Since he switched that Drapion in, he did work with it in his first game using it. We're going to have to see if he can repeat the same thing again here. I really like what Kraken's got, and I do think that this is going to be hard for Joel to be able to counter. Joel has the speed control with the Crobat, but then you have to wonder with the Gothitelle, are they going to go Trick Room? Something when they've got a Conkeldurr on their team, that's always a possibility, and you've got to be careful when you're dealing with that. We've got to wonder what Joel's answer to that possibility is going to be. So let's see what leads that we're going up against here from Joel's perspective. And Kraken is going to be leading with the Gothitelle and the Tauros. So you've got one Pokemon very fast, one Pokemon pretty slow. Both can put out a lot of damage though. Tapu Koko and the Crobat from Joel's side, so very much going for the faster side of things here. And even with Tauros having all that speed, I think it may well get outsped in this particular occasion. Intimidate coming out, but that's probably not going to be too much of an impact, even though Tapu Koko is probably preferred stats point to physical. You're actually very often running it special, so I don't think that's too much of an issue. And as we can see there from that Crobat, it's not running anything that needs its physical moves whatsoever. So Joel obviously taking his time to work out which way he wants to go with this. Looks like quite an offensive Tapu Koko there with good coverage and then obviously the protect. Got to see what gets played here though. The taunt is a great play from Joel into that Gothitelle because he does not want to see that Trick Room as already stated. Oh, avoiding the rock slide there, huge. Obviously one side of it gets protected. Not all that much damage done from the Shadow Ball, but notably going for that offensive move, so not wasting a turn from the fact that it gets taunted. Super Fang on Crobat, always really useful. Lovely to see that him utilizing that. And then now he's going to have to start actually putting some damage out with this Tapu Koko. But he no longer has to worry about that potential of Trick Room, so he knows he'll probably be going first. Kraken taking his time, really doesn't want to make a misstep here, obviously. Early in the game, this is where things can very much go one way or the other, so I don't hate the fact that he's using that time to think wisely. Will it be enough though? Huge damage from that Thunderbolt. Not a KO, but still, that's big, big damage. And the Super Fang, you have to wish that it goes in the other order. And that's something that I think that Joel should have really thought about when, you know, genning these ones and getting them right. If you're going to be hitting a Super Fang, you want it to be going pretty much always first. I know that may mean sacrificing some speed on the Koko, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. But all the same, still having the pretty much first turns on both of these Pokemon. Nothing going down yet, even after being hit by both the Rock Slide, which was big damage, and then the Shadow Ball, which the Crobat took quite well. But still everything to be played for here in these first few Mons. Super Fang. See, that's what you want. Lots of damage the first time it's used. Much better well placed. Dazzling Gleam coming out, picking up the KO, doing the good damage to the Gothitelle after the Super Fangs hit. So maybe there are speed tie in that case then. If we're seeing that first turn, the Tapu Koko went first, second turn, Crobat went first, which for the sake of 1 point of speed, if I was Joel, I'd have thought about changing that. But obviously, it's worked out for this second time around. Both players losing a Mon, though, here. And we have to see how the board is going to look after this. See, Joel needs to be thinking very carefully about the switches he's making when he's getting the opportunity to bring new Pokemon in, because that Gothitelle is likely to be running Shadow Tag. We haven't seen him try to go for a switch yet, but it's something you've got to be so conscious of. We're seeing here the Magmar and the Conkeldurr coming out onto the field. I think that Joel probably feels pretty safe knowing that the Gothitelle is still taunted, so there's no chance of Trick Room here. The question is, does he read something like a Protect, as we have seen Kraken go for that Protect and Flame Orb Guts play on the Conkeldurr time and time again. Probably, yeah, looking at that Psychic though, you can see he's definitely thinking about going into it. And honestly, I think that it's not the worst play, because if you do get it off, then obviously there's a lot of damage there. If you don't, well, Magmar is still not the strongest one, so you're not wasting that much damage going into Gothitelle. Also, double Protect. Kraken obviously just scouting to see what's coming, which I don't hate that. However, it does now put him into the position where he cannot protect off either of these Mons. And other than the fact that the burn's gone off, there's no real change to anything. See, now Joel has definitely the upper hand, better positioning. He's quicker than both of these Pokemon with his duo. There's still no chance of that Trick Room coming into effect. I don't think the taunt's worn off just yet. And so you have to be wondering, if you're Kraken, how do you play it out of this point? This isn't gonna be a pleasant experience, and he's gonna take a lot of damage here. Yeah, Joel can just afford to go completely offensive. Kraken going for the switch, now that he's got that burn off, obviously he doesn't need to do so when it comes back out, so he doesn't need to protect anymore. The Drapion coming in, and that's still decent damage versus it though. taking down the Goth. Big chunk of damage on it, not quite half, but then you see the Psychic doing nothing to the Dark type of Drapion. So not a bad switch at all. Obviously, Kraken seeing what move was coming in, the Protect doing the scouting work that was necessary. Conqueror coming back out now, with the burn already set up. Obviously in a much more potential offensive position now, but he's still potentially looking at that Psychic coming into it. And Joel still has a Pokemon in the back. Nothing's outspeeding Tapu Koko. This still is pretty much anybody's game. I think that Joel probably has the advantage here, but it's how much really I think that the Conqueror can start laying down damage if it's given the chance to do so. So Koko going for the Protect, which I understand because, yeah, as you'd expect, the poison move coming out from the Conqueror. But all the same, yeah, I think you wanted to start laying down some damage from the Tapu Koko before it goes down. You may have been able to do a lot more to the Conqueror, which was able to one-shot that Magmar. That Eviolite Magmar going down in one, that's how powerful Guts is. And then you have here another a Psychic type in the... Oh no, it's Dragon type, isn't it? Of course, I'm forgetting. This is the Alolan variant. My apologies. So the question is, what's it going to be able to do against them? Is packing a Psychic type move, so there is the chance that it can still do some real damage to that Conqueror given a chance. But Drapion is probably going to be tearing through this thing with its cross poison. At this point in time, that Drapion is probably the scariest thing on the field to everything. And that includes the Conqueror, the Guts Conqueror, which has already got the burn. Yeah, going for the Dazzling Gleam. This will be big damage. Oh, and oh my god, both Pokemon living on an absolute slither. Cross Poison comes out, not picking up the KO. Oh my word, a Reflect. Joel really should have been going for damage there. And then this high horsepower, this is definitely going to pick up the KO. Yes, it does. Koko goes down, and even though Joel now has to Protect, this had the opportunity to be very one-sided. The burn taking down the Conqueror. So, okay, he has picked up another KO there, but the problem is, even with the Reflect, that Drapion is going first, and there's nothing he can do about it. If he gets any move off, he will absolutely kill it. But the problem is, he's very unlikely to do so. And yeah, we see that Cross Poison is enough to pick up the kill, even through the Reflect. So that's game one going to Kraken by the skin of his teeth. Very well played. So we can see here, going into game two, neither player looks like they've gone for any switches. Same teams all around. And you have to wonder if you're Joel, when you come so close to picking up the win, is there anything that you need to change? You know, because a couple of plays one way or another could have made all the difference in that game. I think if the Executor, for example, had put down a move on that last turn, it probably would have won the game rather than going for the Reflect. However, it's difficult to even expect that. So you have to wonder, how does he adjust? And if you're Kraken, you only just won. You can't be resting on your laurels at that point. So what adjustments are you making from that side as well, right? The Conqueror was doing good damage, but at the same time, or at least it had the potential to be doing the good damage, high horsepower was picking up a fair amount there. But realistically, it's in such a weak position versus that fairy type. We've seen Psychic now coming out from the Magmar, and I don't think he realizes it, but the Psychic on the Executor as well. Can you still afford to bring the Conqueror? It's a risky play. So looks like Joel is going for the same leads in the Tapu Koko and the Crobat, and bringing the same mons in the back as well. So no adjustments from his side. He's looking to just obviously make the plays slightly different to be able to lead it in his favor. maybe look to actually get that damage down where it counts, given the chance. So from Kraken's side, though, we're seeing he's sticking with the Goth, but bringing the Seismitoad this time for a lead, which is interesting. Great versus both the Tapu Koko and the Magmar if it's in the back, and depending on what moves this thing has on it, could be very dangerous versus the Crobat as well. We have to see what sort of changes there are going to happen. You know, is there going to be any difference in terms of being able to set that Trick Room up? If Kraken's even packing it, we never saw him try and go for it. The taunt pretty much stopped it most of the time, but it would make a huge difference. And it looks like Joel's going for damage, possibly? Certainly thinking about that Super Fang. Turn 1, you would expect to see either the Tailwind or the Taunt, doubling down on one or the other. And yeah, really thinking about how he wants to approach this. Obviously knows that he can't afford to be wasting time, and particularly on that last turn of the previous game, probably feeling a little bit burnt about not getting enough damage down. Going for the Super Fang, and we see, yeah, there we go. That Energy Ball, I think it was, is going to be going into the Seismitoad. It's going to do a lot of damage. But the Protect, oh my word, this, oh, Grass Knot, sorry, not Energy Ball. Yeah, that Protect has got to hurt from Joel's side of things. An Energy Ball coming out of the Gothitelle. And so, I mean, getting damage down, like, I don't hate it. The question is, why Energy Ball? Like, surely you may as well stick with something like a stab type move, unless maybe it isn't packing anything psychic. And so Joel going for that Grass Knot again. Oh, is he? Going back and forth here. And back on the Crobat. Really umming and ahhing about this. Going for the Tailwind now, which really you don't need. You already have the speed on your side. Yeah, and this is probably a very smart switch from Kraken here. Going to the Tauros. You can't afford to be taking that Grass Knot, which you've now seen it is being packed on the Tapu Koko. And versus the Tauros, it's going to do reasonable damage, but nowhere near as much as before. Tailwind coming out, so now, to be fair, with the Tauros, that was smart. But then the Trick Room from the Gothitelle, we finally see it going for the speed control factor there. And that Tailwind was so unfortunately timed. That's going to be huge in this game, because that now means that pretty much for the next few turns while the Tailwind is up, Kraken is going to be going first at every possible turn. Joel now in a real difficult spot as he's facing down a Tauros which can put out some serious damage, and a Gothitelle which is no slouch either. We saw, I think, him try and go for the switch there, confirming that it is Shadow Tag. He's not able to do that, so he is stuck with the Pokemon he's got. The Protect may well be a smart play. Oh, Shadow Ball coming into the Koko, and yeah, I think we have now seen that there is no Psychic, but it doesn't matter. That crit definitely mattered there. Wow, picking up the KO on the Tapu Koko, that's huge. As I've stated before though, now that there's actually the chance for Joel to switch his mons around, he has to really think about smartly about what he's bringing. Bringing out the Executor. So he now doesn't have anywhere near as much power on his side of the field now he's lost that Koko. Really got to do something big here to be able to turn it around. Looking for, I believe that was the Super Fang onto the Gothitelle. Not a bad strategy. It's pretty bulky, so taking out half of its health will definitely be a big help. The Executor, though, is it going to be going for another Reflect like last time, or is it going to actually start laying down some damage? This is the question. Terrain is up, so it wouldn't be a bad play to be going for that Terrain Pulse. Obviously, this is the reason that he's packing it. Looking at the Energy Ball, and yeah, going for the Energy Ball. As long as it's damage, I don't think it's a bad thing. Sticking with the Reflect, I don't know is the right strategy. It depends on how much this Tauros really is a threat, I suppose. Oh, but that Mega Horn, that is going to be a threat. Massive damage there. Not a KO, but even still. Berry popping on the Executor, gaining back some of its health, which will help, but it's not by any means going to be enough to actually survive another one of those Mega Horns. So he went for the Taunt. I was wrong in what I thought he'd clicked on there versus the Gothitelle. But at this point in time, like, the Trick Room's already up, so the damage is done. I suppose it's just all about stopping another one going up because you can't afford it. Speed control still being on Kraken's side, I think, for at least one more turn, though. How is he going to capitalize? Like, he's already put down a lot of damage. Can he make this gap even further and maybe pick up another KO, especially with how low Executor is at this point in time? It's not going to get much chance to do anything. Yeah, Shadow Ball coming out. And, oh, not picking up a kill, though. Going for the Reflect. I suppose this helps the future Magmar when it comes out. Rock Slide, though, managing to hit both. But Executor still amazingly lives. Finally seeing that Super Fang onto the Gothitelle, so that's decent damage. Tailwind gone, which means that the Executor should now probably be one of the fastest things on the field in this Trick Room. Joel has a chance still. Can he use this? He needs to be looking to try and take out that Tauros, if nothing else. As much as the Gothitelle is a pain, that Tauros is putting down far too much damage. And once the Trick Room ends, it again is going to be the fastest real threat. Looking like a Protect on the Crobat. I don't hate it. See, he's now looking at the Terrain Pulse once the terrain has gone. It's a little bit late for that. It still does damage, but nowhere near as much as you want. I think he really just needs to, yeah, focus on taking down this Tauros. So, will this be enough? Protect coming out from the Crobat. And the Energy Ball will pick up the KO versus the Tauros. Finally goes down. Shadow Ball going into the Crobat, and so you're now in a position where you're starting to gain a bit more momentum. The Harvest comes out, regrows the berry, so that Executor is actually now in a situation where it's not as bad. Like, it takes another one of those. I think it was a Shadow Ball from the Gothitelle, so it's not threatened quite as much as it was previously. And we see the Conqueror here. It doesn't have Guts yet, so it's not going to be as dangerous this turn. Yeah, one more turn of Taunt on the Gothitelle. So now I don't hate the Tailwind play because the Executor, I believe, may well be slower than the Goth. So the question is, does he go for the Psychic into the Conqueror? Oh, he's umming and ahhing. And is sticking with the Tailwind. Going back to the Executor. Looking like the Energy Ball into the Gothitelle. Maybe suspecting that first turn Protect, as we saw previously from Conqueror. It's not a bad play. If you can read that Protect, then you get off a lot more damage than obviously what you would otherwise. And who knows, maybe he can actually start to get close to taking this Gothitelle down, which has been such a problem for him. Energy Ball comes out, not enough for the KO, but it's big, big damage. Energy Ball comes back, that's going to do nothing versus the Crobat. But we did not see a protect from the Conqueror, and a close combat comes out, picking up the KO versus the Executor. That's really well played from Kraken, baiting the protect the first time to then, you know, your opponent, Joel, starts thinking, don't need to worry about it. Because if you'd have gone into that with Psychic from the Executor, that would have done so much damage. It may have even been a one-shot. Magmar coming out now. And the problem is, we've seen high horsepower is on this Conqueror. And that alone is enough to be able to take down the Magmar now that it has its Guts boost going off. Gothitelle still sticking around. And I believe, did we... what's he doing with the Crobat? He's going Taunt into it, or... He's gone back to it. I think I preferred the Taunt into the Gothitelle. Yeah, because you have to be careful. Another Trick Room, and that spells the end of you with the Conqueror sitting there. Magmar, if you can get the Psychic off, it's going to be big. Not being Stab or obviously quite as powerful as a fully evolved Mon, I doubt it will pick up the KO, but it will be a lot of damage nonetheless. Going for the Scorching Sands, looking for the KO, but when you're already going for the Taunt, I don't know if it's quite necessary. The switch anyway, so at this point in time, that Conqueror is just being allowed to run riot. Yeah, Scorching Sands, this is not going to do that much. It's reasonable. The burn is a big help, but realistically, you still need more at this point in the game. Magmar taking such huge damage from that Conqueror's high horsepower. There's very little Joel can do to come back from this at this point, because with Crobat only packing Super Fang, which is fine and reasonable, it's not going to be enough to pick up the kill. So the Magmar needs to be basically doing all the serious damage dealing. Now, Psychic Short is great versus the Conqueror, but that Scorching Sands isn't going to be enough to reliably take down the Seismitoad. We see a Protect from the Conqueror. Wasted Super Fang there. Psychic also wasted. That's got to hurt Joel. And the Surf coming out. This explains the Protect. This is going to do almost certainly enough to pick up the KO versus the Magmar. Yeah, and it starts to bring the Crobat down to very manageable levels anyway. And at this point in time, Kraken should know there's only 4 moves on this Crobat. None of them can pick up a KO because Super Fang only does half the current HP. At this point in time, he's literally just flailing in the wind. It's now literally a matter of time. Kraken just needs to click 2 offensive moves, and I think we'll see a GG. Super Fang comes out, half the damage, but half is not enough. Focus Blast avoided. Fire Punch coming out though, and yeah, with that Guts boost is certainly enough to pick up the kill. That is GG to Kraken. Very, very well played. Really capitalized on the strengths of his Pokemon. Good game from both of them. Obviously, Kraken, definitely the deserved victor there. So close in that first game, and all it would have taken is just one more turn of clicking a more offensive move from the Executor. But all the same, with this bottom of the lower league players, lower of the division, I should say, you see that Kraken is now moving up to 2 wins and getting closer and closer to guaranteeing making playoffs. I think one more win will be definitely in for him. Joel, on the other hand, really starting to struggle. He desperately needs to start getting at least another win under his belt, or he's not going to be able to make the playoffs at this point in time. It really is do or die time for him. He's not out of it yet, but every game matters at this point. Look, thank you very much for watching. Very enjoyable match. Well played from both coaches. Join us again next time, where I guarantee it will only be a day or two before we've got more matches coming up for you. You all take care. Bye bye.